In genetics class, I'm going to be talking about CRISPR. So, what is CRISPR? CRISPR stands for cluster regularly interspaced short palindromic repeats. It's found in bacteria and archaea, and the main job of CRISPR is to edit DNA of any viruses that come or invade the bacteria's environment. So, how does it work? Well, when a virus invades bacteria, lands on the surface, well, CRISPR or the Cas9 enzyme becomes activated, and it will capture the virus and it will replicate its DNA or its RNA. So it's going to take the DNA of the virus and it's going to replicate it, and it's going to snip out the sections of the DNA that it needs, and that actually is stored in the bacteria so that if the virus comes back even again, then it's going to recognize it and figure out how to fight it off. And it's actually very small. These snippets can go up to 12 to 24 base pairs, which is not that big. So, current work with CRISPR. Currently, scientists are working on modifying DNA of humans, and so they want to use it to help get rid of diseases like cystic fibrosis, hemophilia, and sickle cell. And they are also trying to test to use it on complex diseases such as cancer, heart disease, and HIV. So their main goal is to reverse these horrible diseases that has been killing millions of people throughout the years, and actually this can lead to curing other diseases besides these. So the current work with CRISPR part 2, basically they also trying right now making sure that it's safe to use on humans, because once you mess with the DNA, that's it could damage the embryo, or it can damage the fetus, and it can cause long-term problems. So they just try and make sure, are we able to use it on people, or do we have to study this longer in order to practice this on people? And their main focus actually for CRISPR is going to be in the sex cells, such as an egg or a sperm, and that will be helpful because whatever they fix in the DNA of an embryo or a sperm, it can be passed down generation instead of just stopping at one person because their disease or whatever they have been modified, or whatever's been modified out of their DNA can't actually come back. So other than diseases, scientists can see that they can use CRISPR to basically customize children. You can customize the eye color, you can adjust the height, you can make your offspring more intelligent. And this is becoming a big question in the science community because this can be ethically wrong. Because people can become obsessed with how perfect their kid is going to look, or instead of loving them for what they're originally going to be. And it's probably going to be something that's going to be worldwide, is going to be large, but people are going to take advantage of it and try to make perfect kids. So this actually reminds me of a movie that was made in 1997 called Gattaca. So the main plot of the movie, basically, so there's this character named Vincent. He's on the picture in the bottom right with Uma Thurman's character, and he was born to a society where basically being human or genetically perfect is everything. Since being genetically perfect is everything, that means you're able to get the best job. That means you're able to get the most amount of money. You're able to get a perfect kid also. But he was born with a mental defect, and so that means he's invalid to society, and so he gets low paying jobs like janitor, staff, and stuff like that, and he hates it. But his parents also gave birth to his brother Anton, who they genetically modified to be perfect. So the people who are perfect, they are able to go to space and explore space. And so Vincent wants to go to space, but he knows he won't be able to because society told him that he can't due to his defect. But his brother actually went to space. So, in order to fulfill his goal, he had to steal a perfect person's identity, which at the top left corner is where he bumps into Jerome Eugene Morrow. He was a genetic engineer in the space program, aka Gattaca, and he got into an accident by trying to commit suicide by jumping in front of a car, which left him crippled. Even though he was perfect, he became invalid due to him becoming crippled and paralyzed from the waist down. So he found out he has no meaning in life whatsoever. So when Vincent eventually was introduced to him, he proposed this idea that he wants to be able to go to space, and his whole dream was to be able to go to space. So Eugene actually helped him by providing him his DNA, like his hair follicles, his blood, his fingerprint, his eye color, and his clothes, basically letting him borrow his life. And they work together so that Vincent will be able to go to space. And since since him and Vincent are working together, they prepared multiple packs of Eugene's DNA, his packets of blood, a lot of hair, skin cells, a bunch of fingerprints, so that Vincent would keep going to space and exploring space. But he eventually fell in love with Uma Thurman's character, Irene, and she is an in-between. She has good genes, but they're not great. They're not perfect. So she's actually a school teacher, which is a better paying job than most of the invalids. So they fall in love, and push comes to shove, and figures out that Vincent is not who he says he is, and she figures out that he's actually going to space even though he's an invalid, and he eventually does go to space. So moral of the story, I found that CRISPR could connect to like the storyline Gattaca, how we can genetically modify our kids to be perfect, but this would be a severe case of people becoming very concerned about having perfect kids or having a perfect bloodline, and it will dictate society later on. But I just found that connection kind of interesting. And these are my citations. The top one is the article that I used for my little bit of research that I did. I highly suggest you read this article. It goes more in depth on what the CRISPR corporation is doing right now. But yeah.